When it comes to agentic coding for iOS or SwiftUI, you can use models like GPT 5.5 in a tool like Codex. You can use Opus 4.7 in Kesa, Cloud Code, or your favorite agentic coding tool. You can also access these two best coding models in a tool like Bitrig for building SwiftUI and iOS apps. You have noticed here we have GPT 5.5 and also Opus 4.7. You can even use Sonnet 4.6. However, we are focusing on Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5. These two models are really good in building iOS app UIs. Wherever you use them, whether you use GPT 5.5 in Codex, along with Opus 4.7 in Kesa. However, if you need to add actual functionality to your application, you should consider using the models in a tool like Bitrig. You will find out why in a moment by building two applications. In the tray agentic coding tools, we are going to build two separate iOS apps using GPT 5.5 and also Opus 4.7. Then we finally compare their results. So why will you consider any of these tools to build iOS or SwiftUI applications using Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5? With Bitrig in particular, it supports extensions, so you can even build widgets. You can build an app supporting live activities and also build a control center application for iOS. It allows you to build an app for the iPhone. So you have noticed here, iPhone is selected. You can build it for iPad. You can also build it for the Mac or even build it for Apple Watch. So if you need to create a SwiftUI application to support all these platforms, choosing Bitrig over Codex or Kesa is the best. One other thing you should consider is the Apple framework support. To build an app specifically for iOS in Codex, you should go to the plugins section and search for iOS. You have noticed I have already installed these two plugins. This one helps you to build, refine, and debug iOS applications. To get the best functionalities or the best result when using these two models in Kesa, you should consider using an iOS scale. Depending on the Apple framework or API you want to support, you should visit skills.sh and look for the specific scale you want to install for SwiftUI and iOS. If I put, for example, SwiftUI, there is also a couple of scales you can install, although you can add the scales in Kesa and also plugins in Codex. When using Bitrig, you don't need these scales. It works out of the box. So let's build a voice note app for iOS using these two models in Bitrig, Kesa, and Codex. Over here, I have the Bitrig version. You can start speaking to convert the voice to text. Once you get the transcription, you can tap the button on the bottom right to get an AI summary using the Foundation Models framework. So behind the scenes, the speech-to-text functionality is powered by the Speech Analyzer API, along with the Speech Transcriber model on Apple platforms. So let's test the app. This simple voice note application is powered by the Speech Transcriber API as well as Foundation models on Apple platforms. You can use it to record your voice, transcribe it, and also get an AI summary. We have now converted the voice to text. What we can do with the text is to share it by tapping this button. You can choose any of these options. You can also copy the transcript or save it to files. Another great functionality of using this simple app is getting AI summary using the Foundation Models framework. To tap into the Foundation Models framework when using Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5 in Codex or in Kesa, that is very difficult to get it right. But in Bitrig, you get everything out of the box. The same with the speech-to-text model in the Speech Transcriber API. So on the bottom right, I'll tap this button to get a summary. So we have now tapped into Apple Intelligence to get summary of the transcript. We can use the two models, GPT 5.5 and Opus 4.7 in Codex or in Kesa to build the same app. But I don't think we will get the same result. So let's try it out. I will first launch the Bitrig application and use the same prompt. This is the same application we just started. I used the dark mode, however here we have the light mode. The only thing with the light mode is the button on the bottom right is not visible, but we can go to the code in Bitrig and just change it. We will copy the prompt and use it in both Kesa and Codex to try and build the same application. First, let's create an Xcode project for each. For the platform, it will be iOS and we leave it as app. I'll click next and name the app GPT 5.5 voice notes. Then I'll create it. We now have the project for GPT 5.5 voice notes. I'll go to File, New, and select Project. Then I'll go to Next and paste this name to create another project for Opus 4.7. That is the same voice note application. I will return to the Bitrig app and copy the prompt. Then I will launch Codex. Let's go to New Chat and add a Xcode project we just created. So we now have the project GPT 5.5 voice notes. I will add the prompt here and leave the model as 5.5. So I will send it. While this one has started, I will launch the other project in Cursor. That is the one for Opus 4.7. So over here, we have our content view as well as the entry point of the application. Let's add the same prompt and leave the model as Opus 4.7 and send it. I'll go back to Codex to see what it has done. So everything is now done. It is now trying to use Xcode build to launch the app with the simulator. However, we can just go directly to Xcode and run it. So here is the UI. Let's try to see whether it works or not. Let's run it on the simulator. Over here, we have some warning. So we need to set this privacy. We also have an error with the speech recognition. This is one of the reasons I told you previously. It is good to use the models directly in Bitrig. It handles such errors for you. I'll go to the Opus version. Opus is also using my Context 7 MCP to fetch the necessary resources. So Opus is now generating the files. I'll just review and keep them. It also wants to run it with the simulator, but we can go to Xcode and run it ourselves. There is one error, so let's copy the error and fix it. It didn't add an import for SwiftUI, so let's apply. I will run it now. This is an example of some of the issues you will find all the time when using these incredible models in a tool like Cursor or Codex. It wasn't able to download the on-device speech model. That is why I said Bitrig handles all these, so it is good to use the models in Bitrig instead. It handles all these edge cases for you. So since it wasn't able to download the speech model, we cannot speak to transcribe it. I will leave the errors in the GPT 5.5 version also and continue with the next application. So over here, if I scroll down further, you have noticed it summarized everything it did in the Bitrig version. So after adding this prompt, you have noticed I didn't add any prompt again. Although the button on the bottom right is not visible, we can go ahead and make changes ourselves. We can add more functionalities. However, everything is working now. For the second application, we have Wheel of Names. So this is also a fully working application. You can enter a set of names and choose a winner at random. There is an option to shuffle the name order. You can sort them from A to Z and more. Once you have all the names entered, you can tap this button to choose a winner at random. So in the end, it displays this animation with sound. You can remove the winner and shuffle the order again and spin it once more to choose other winners. So this is a simple application I created based on this website. I'll copy the name and go to the browser and paste it here. Over here, you can add your own entry and spin it. Similar to the iOS version, you can remove the winner. You can shuffle the entries, sort it, and try again. So I just wanted to create an iOS version of this web app. There are also so many things you can do under the settings. Instead of tapping a button to remove the winner, you can set it here. so that the winner is removed after each spin. You can set the duration of the spinning. You can enable and disable sound, as well as the haptic feedback. You can clear all the entries and add new ones. So we don't have anything in the entry. I'll go to here so we can add more. Let's shuffle it and spin it. So let's go to Xcode and create two projects again. I'll call the first one GPT 5.5 Wheel of Names. Then for the next, we have Opus 4.7 Wheel of Names. So I'll go to Codex and add a new chat. So we now have GPT 5.5 Wheel of Names. Let's also copy the prompt and add it. We will leave the model as 5.5 and send the prompt. Next, I'll open the Opus version in Cursor. So we have Opus 4.7 Wheel of Names. In the project, we have our content view and the entry point of the application. I'll add the same prompt and leave the model as Opus 4.7 and send it. Let's go and see what Codex had done. It is still generating the files. So Codex has done a great job. It has finished generating all the files for the project. And over here, we have the wheel, we have entries and winners. Let's check the functionalities first. We can shuffle, and also we have settings to change the spin speed and more. That also works perfectly. There is no way to remove the winner. However, we have the basic functionality. It added some color chips to each of the names, so you can select each one of them and modify it. You can add new entries. You can even paste some names and also save the current wheel. You can remove the names. You can edit the names, as well as shuffling them or sorting them A to Z and more. So for this one, GPT 5.5 did a great job to add all the functionalities. Let's now jump to Cursor to see what Opus did. I need to keep all the files. So I'm going to open it directly in Xcode. The Opus 4.7 version also looks fine. Let's test the functionality to see whether it works or not. Over here, we have two versions, Team Launch and Raffle Tickets. Let's try Team Launch first. We can remove the winner, which is Alan. We now have 7 entries instead of 8. I'll spin it again. Let's change it from Team Launch and select Raffle. Then I'll shuffle the entries and spin it. For this example, all the 2 models did great job in both Codex and in Cursor. So this is everything I have for you in this video. I showed you how to use the best coding models, GPT 5.5, as well as Opus 4.7 in Codex, Cursor, and Bitrig. Depending on the framework and the API you want to use for your iOS or SwiftUI application, you can use the models in Cursor or Codex. However, if you want a fully integrated platform, you should consider using the models in Bitrig, as you saw in this video.